with me, and you'll be in
In
a
a world of pure imagination.
Take a look, and you'll see into your imagination.
That's right, baby. We're going into the world of the imagination, just like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
With a spin,
Welcome back to Lockdown Universe. As you can see, we've got a much different background because we're having an imagination episode. We're having a story about the Tree of Life appearing to many people, and especially in near-death experiences. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Welcome back to Lockdown Universe, home of the bizarre, peculiar, and unheard of stories of UFO legend and paranormal lore. Welcome back. Behind me, you can see we've got multiple lights. We've got a pink map of the world. We've got a whole lot of ambience going on. Now, the story and the podcast today is going to be about the Tree of Life and what it represents and why it's popping up in people's near-death experiences, as well as my own. This is why it's so important, because it's so relevant to me. I want to share it with you, and as you can see, I've got my conductor bandito mask on today. No, I don't have a mask. I just got a bandana on. Was doing some cleaning, and I wanted to have a little bit of a buffer in between my face and all the dirt. So anyway, today, the Tree of Life. What does it mean? It sounds generic, but it's actually very, very important to our life, our rebirth, and our death. So you can believe it or not believe it. It may appear to some people. It may appear it may not appear to other people. It's appeared to me in many dreams, and it's just something that has stuck with me through many years. And I read a near-death experience story today, and it really brought me back to that specific dream and that specific event. And I wanted to talk about hers and my own. So that's what I'm going to do. What is the Tree of Life, first and foremost? Well, we could talk about it real quick, and then we can get into the story. So the Tree of Life is in many different religions. I don't want to talk about religion, but it's in many different religions. It's a fundamental archetype in mythology, religion, and philosophical traditions. It's known as the Tree of Knowledge and the Good and Evil in Genesis. It's also known in Celtic lore as their ancestors. They actually believe that certain trees are their ancestors, and they're able to communicate with them. But the Tree of Life itself is symbolic of the death, rebirth, and life process. The roots are known as being stuck and rooted into the earth. The tree itself is in limbo, living its life, and then the trees are the in-between, or the branches and the leaves are the in-between this world and the next. So let's talk about why it's important in this particular near-death experience story and my own encounters with the Tree of Life. So, the Tree of Life and Holly M's near-death experience story. They don't have her last name. Holly M. Placed her near-death experience onto the NDERF, the Near-Death Experience Research Foundation's website, which is what I'm bringing it to you from. And we're going to talk about her near-death experience, where she woke up from her near-death experience on a ventilator with the tube down her throat. So she states, in her near-death experience, I was in a field. And this place was the most beautiful, peaceful place I'd ever been. There really wasn't anything spectacular about it. It was a field, but there was a hill with one tree on it. Almost like that show, One Tree Hill. This tree was beautiful, and the leaves were swaying, and all I wanted to do was to walk to the tree. There was no sound, yet I heard singing like I had never heard before. So no sound, just singing like she'd never heard before. The closest sound that I can manage to find a close relation to was when I saw a boy on TV they claimed had the voice of an angel, and he really did. I cried. While in this place, I began walking towards this tree, and my guardian angel came to me. They always come to you in those near-death experiences, don't they? She spoke not with her mouth, but clearly in my head. She said, "You need to stop and wait." I kept looking past her and moved around her and to get to this tree. I wanted to get to this tree. Her voice came more forcefully and said, "Remember." She held up her hand, and on each one of her fingers was a moving photo of my 4 children. And she said, "Remember, you have to remember them, and you have to wait." I honestly can say I didn't know them as my children at the time. That's what's so fascinating about these near-death experiences, is that people just totally forget the life that they lived, and they're like in this other world, other space, and they've forgotten about their children sometimes. Some people are in this limbo, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I have to go back. I have to go back," and they're reminded, but they have to be constantly reminded of almost of their children. They look down on their life, on their body, and they just look at it as if it's like, a lifeless piece of meat, like at the grocery store. It doesn't mean anything to you. So she continues and says, "The purpose I felt at the time was I had to make it to this beautiful tree. I went to move around this angel again, and she said, 'Look,' and she pointed to the sky where she made shapes like a bunny, and she said, 'Rest here, watch the clouds, and remember.' I went to sidestep her again, like this powerful screaming came from her, and she said, 'Wait, rest here, you are needed.' And I did as she asked. I laid down in the fields to watch the clouds. The next thing I felt was a powerful force lifting me up. Then I was thrown down and landed in the bottom of the bluest water. It was so far down, I was struggling to get to the top to breathe, and that's when I woke up on a ventilator in the intensive care unit. But I felt like I was coming out of the water and trying to suck in a mouthful of air. Many things happened to her while she was in this near-death experience. So I want to talk to you about those experiences. There was a question asked, and it said, "At the time during the experience, were you at the highest level of consciousness and alertness?" She said, "My experience was so vivid, I couldn't say what time it was or where I was, just that it was beautiful and I didn't want to be back on Earth." I would say waking up in the intensive care unit with the doctors and the 2 male angels with me at the foot of my bed and the right side near my head was different, right? She stated, neither of them spoke with their mouths, but they spoke with their mind. They said, "We are not here to take you. We are here to comfort you and your family and watch over you until you get to leave." So they also asked, the interviewer also asked, did time seem to speed up or slow down? She stated, "Everything seemed to be happening at once," which is what most near-death experiencers state. There is no time. Everything's happening all at once. And we're starting to learn with quantum physics and quantum mechanics that time is all happening at once. That we can go back remote viewing wise and talk to our ancestors or talk to people that are, from like a million years ago on other planets in real time. They asked her, "Did you see any beings in your experience?" She said, "Yes, I had two angels, 2 male angels. I met my guardian angel when I started to walk towards the tree, and her guardian angel was female. So she actually met 3. 2 males that were by her bed in the hospital, and 1 in this other place, whatever you want to call that place." And she said, it was like I was surrounded by a brilliant light of mystical or otherworldly origin. It was a landscape. It was clearly mystical or an unearthly realm. I have no idea where this field was or how I got there or how the tree was there. I had never seen anything like it in books or magazines, so I couldn't have imagined it. The softness of the flowing grass. There was no coldness. It wasn't too warm. It was on an amazing level of complete comfort and peace. Interestingly enough, I was having a conversation with my daughter today, and she stated, on YouTube, I saw a video where they stated that heaven was cold. And I said, "Honey, you can't believe everything that you see on YouTube." I said, "Most near-death experience stories I read state that they don't feel any temperature at all. They just feel perfectly warm or perfectly comfortable." She stated that there was complete peace, no regrets, no sorrow, no sadness, no anger, hate, No rage came to me. I didn't care about anybody else, like the family members, which I thought was interesting. She stated everything about the universe came to me. There were scenes of the world's future as well. I came to a barrier I was not permitted to cross, and I was sent back against my will. She stated she was a moderate Christian, but she wasn't attending church, which basically means that you believe, but you don't really go to church and you don't read up on it. Yes, I try to forgive faster now that I've had this experience. I let things go that used to bother me. I say I am sorry to most people. I don't want to have any regrets. That's not something I can carry with me day after day after day in this life. She stated, now I know that death isn't meant to be feared, and so on and so forth. See, I didn't want it to be all about a near-death experience, okay? I wanted to get to the tree of life as well. I apologize. I'm kind of going a little bit long on this one, but I wanted to give you the kind of full idea of what she had gone on. There's a little bit more, but I'm going to wrap it up there because the tree of life to me, when it's come to me in dreams, and I haven't had a near-death experience that I know of, so I can't say it's a near-death experience, but what I can say is that I've had this same exact dream with this same exact tree that is so large, it's unlike any tree you've ever seen. The width and girth of the tree is like a warehouse. You can go into it. It doesn't look like a rectangle, but it's so large that it would be a circular warehouse. So when you go in and you enter through the tree, it's up on a hill. This is my experience now, so I'm explaining my dreams. This dream has come to me more than maybe over 20 times. That's a lot for a dream. Recurring dreams probably come to you about more than at least that or more. Maybe it's been more, I don't know, but at least 20. And in my instance, I'm walking up a hill, just like she was, which is why it triggered this memory for me. And I'm walking up the hill, and this tree overhangs this entire hill. It's humongous. I've never been to California to see the redwoods, so I can't compare, but I can only imagine that they would compare to the oldest of redwoods and probably even 10 times as large. And when I enter the door, there's a physical door to this tree, and I would go inside, and when I go inside, it's like a home, just a large home, but it's a home, and it's a narrow hallway at the beginning, and it gets larger and larger as you go in. So when you go in, there's glass cases of maybe what you might call knickknacks, maybe what you might call, memorial items of visitations to places on the planet or off planet for all I know. It's blurry, right? But what's not blurry is the pictures of these people on the walls. There's multiple pictures of and portraits of people on the wall. Some painted, mostly painted, and some are photographed. And as I walk along this hallway, I see well-framed image after well-framed image of men and women. And the message I receive in these dreams is that you are these people. These are you. And many people who state that they've had near-death experiences also state that they've had other lifetimes, that they're able to see past lifetimes as well. People who undergo hypnotic regression also state the same thing, that they have these instances where they go back to the time of birth, back before the time of birth, and have all of these near-death experiences because they lived through all of these lifetimes. They see all the ways that they died, all the ways that they lived, and how they lived as a man, woman in different time periods in the past. It's all in the book. There's actually a book that I've talked about, Keepers of the Garden, by Dolores Cannon, who's an expert in the hypnosis arena. And she talks all about these stories, about people who've had lives on other planets. But anyway, the point is, in this tree, I see all of my lifetimes in portrait form. And I come to this tree time after time again, and each time I come, I see something different. I see a different item in the curio cabinets that are lining the hallways. I get to go deeper into this tree. I get to see different lifetimes. I get to see different portraits. And this tree has a very welcoming feeling, as many people have reported in near-death experiences, where the the meadows that they end up on in these near-death experiences have living grass that can speak to them telepathically, that have energy within them, and they walk along these flowing paths. And when they do, they feel the entire area consume them and communicate with them. And that's what I feel when I have these dreams. And they're not triggered by me reading near-death experiences or anything like that, because these dreams happen on days or weeks where I haven't thought about it at all. And I'll do this podcast tonight and I'll sleep like a baby and I won't have that dream. It'll just come out of nowhere. So it often makes me wonder if, like so many people have stated, if we are possibly living multiple timelines. Like a tree has multiple roots, like hundreds of thousands of roots underneath the tree, underneath the ground, and it's touching different areas underneath the ground. Well, maybe our roots, our soul, is touching multiple different portions of our living being in different timelines, as males or females or children, adults, so on and so forth, and even aliens on other planets. And maybe when a strong event occurs, maybe that's why these dreams appear, and I'm taken back to the tree of life. But this tree of life is legitimate. I mean, even going into other areas around the world, Hinduism, there's sacred books where they talk about the tree of life being the color gold. And in Chinese mythology, Taoist stories tell of a tree that produces a peach of immortality every 1,000 years, 3,000 years. And anyone who eats the fruit receives immortality. That's what it's all circular, right? I mean, we all have immortality. We're all going to live multiple lifetimes. And I try to instill that into my children, and, try to make them understand that, people like Danny and Brinkley, who got struck by lightning when he was on the telephone in 1974 before there were cell phones, and he got shot out of his shoes and slammed up into the ceiling and slammed back down, and has died 3 more times, so a total of 4 times. These people come to us and they tell us about these exact similar events, and they tell us that there's nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about. You have nothing to fear. Even if you talk about Christianity, the tree of life pops up in there too, twice actually. They talk about those that access is no longer forbidden for those who wash their robes. They that do this have a right to have the right to the tree of life. And then they also talk about it later on in Revelation 22, where there's a pure river of water of life, and on either side of the river is a tree that bears 12 manners of fruits that can heal the nations. Again, I don't like to talk about religion, but I think that it's interesting that it's in so many different religions. You notice a common factor, right? Typically a godhead, typically some sort of, story to abide by, rights, rules to abide by, and then weird things like the tree of life pop up because they're in the afterlife. They already existed way before these books existed. Just like aliens existed way before these books existed, right, too. There's an 11th century tree of life sculpture at an ancient Swedish church. How cool is that? That's really cool. Because they talk about that. They talk about how, and even in Native American nature and lore, they talk about an Oglala Lakota medicine man describes in his vision, in a book called Black Elk Speaks Black Elk, where after dancing around a dying tree that had never bloomed, he is transported to another world, a spirit world, where he meets his wise elders, 12 men and 12 women. The elders tell Black Elk that they will bring him to meet our father, the two-legged chief, and bring him to the center of a hoop where he sees the tree in full leaf and bloom and the chief standing against the tree. Coming out of his trance, he hopes to see that earthly tree has bloomed, but it still had not bloomed when he came out of his trance. Isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting how so many different stories have the same central point to them? And I love hearing Native American stories because I believe that those peoples were the closest thing to the spiritual realm out of anybody, in North America. I mean, maybe you could go with Aztecs, and so on and so forth. But in recent time periods, really to talk to Native Americans is really would be a blessing to learn more. So, have you had any dreams where you've experienced a tree of life, or a tree of multiple lives for that matter, a tree of past lives? It apparently exists for many, many people, thousands, maybe millions of people around the world in many different near-death experiences. It's fascinating and truly worth looking into and doing a little bit more research. So, I hope you guys are having a great day, physically, spiritually, emotionally. That's what I wanted to put out into the world today. Not fear, not worry, just the knowledge that everything's going to be all right. And I hope you guys have a white light around you this weekend, taking care of yourselves in any way you need to. Paint, art, cleaning. Even cleaning can be a joy. That's what I did today, and I did it with joy because I know that everything will be nice and taken care of and healthy. So, and I want it to be healthy for me and my family. So, take care of yourselves in multiple ways today. Continue to question the universe around you, and go like, follow, share, subscribe. Leave me a comment in the comments section. Love to hear from you. Or at Lockdown Universe on Facebook, in the Messenger, or write to lockdownuniverse@gmail.com. All right, guys, take care of yourselves. Peace out. I'm out.